Hello, this is Michael Rubin, and welcome to the video that refuses to get made. This is like my fourth or fifth try making this video. Everything keeps happening to interrupt it. We'll see what happens. So, we have been talking about playing in the key of D on the Chromatic for a blues song, and we said don't push in the button and everything's going to work. And so lastly, we started talking about Little Walter's method, mostly about how he will open his mouth wide enough for 4 holes and block 2 holes in between, which is similar to when you do that for most of the notes on the diatonic and you get an octave. The shimmering sound that happens when you play, for example, a low C and the next highest C at the same time. But most of what Little Walter is playing is not an octave on the Chromatic. That is because 1 draw and 4 draw, as we learned in the last lesson where we discussed the names of the notes on the Chromatic without the button, 1 draw is D and 4 draw is B. That is not an octave. It is a double stop. Double stops are when you play 2 notes at once. So the question is, what is so special about these double stops? Why does it make Little Walter sound incredible? Well, first off, every time you play any note, the audience is hearing a relationship with that note to all the other notes going on. So the guitarist is playing chords, they may be playing 3 or more notes, they're changing chords, you could hold on a note through the change. The rhythm guitar, the piano player is playing chords, but also melody at the top. The singer is singing a melody. The bass player is playing a chord arpeggiated, which means 1 note at a time. The drummer is hitting rhythms. Every note you play has a relationship to what they're playing. And so that's amazing enough as it is, right? But when you play 2 notes at once, not only are both notes relating to what the band is doing, both of your notes are relating to each other. So the first thing we're going to look at is 1 draw and 4 draw, which is D and B. Now we're in the key of D, so D's relationship to the rest of the band is it's the key note. It's a very relaxing note, but B is not the key note, so it has some tension. So at the same time you're playing relaxation and tension. It's a pretty interesting sound. So let's look at why D and B is so special. First off, here is D on the piano. I knew it was D because 2 black keys, 3 black keys, 2 black keys, 3 black keys. It's a repeating pattern. D is in the middle of the 2 black keys. So this is D and this is D. Every time I find a note, I describe where it is verbally in relationship to the 2 black keys or the 3 black keys, and soon I can look at the piano and know exactly where I am. That's the purpose of black notes. Black notes, when you play them, are sounds. There's nothing inferior to them. But the purpose of a black note is to give you a visual landmark so you know where you are on the keyboard. Imagine you had a piano with 88 white notes and I said play D. How would you find it? So here's D. I'm going to go higher till I get to B. It's alphabetical letters. D, E, F, G, then A, B, A, B. So here's B. So we're playing these 2 notes. That's what Little Walter is playing when he plays 1 and 4 draw. Pretty cool sound. So in any case, why is this special? We have to talk about it in relationship to the D major scale. The D major scale is the one that sounds like do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, but starts on D. And the notes in D major are D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D. So notice I was counting on my fingers. D is the first note in the scale, and B is the 6th note in the scale. So when you play 1 draw and 4 draw, you're playing the first note of the scale that you're in, of the key that you're in, and the 6th note of the same scale. They call the distance between, since it's a major scale, you could call the B note the major 6th. And they call the distance from the first note of a scale to the 6th note of the scale a major 6th. So major 6 has 2 meanings. Number 1, it's the numerical value of the B note in the key of D, or the A note in the key of C. So when you hear people talk about Nashville numbers, that's what they're talking about. So you could call it a major sixth. But major sixth has a second meaning, which is the distance from the first note in the scale to the sixth note in the scale. So, by the way, a lot of people, instead of saying major sixth, they would just loosely say a sixth. Now there's two kinds of sixths. There's a major sixth and a minor sixth. In the key of D, B is the sixth note, and B flat is what they call the flat sixth or the minor sixth. The distance from D to B flat is called a minor sixth. But if I don't use the word minor and I say sixth, I tend to be implying the major sixth. So, in any case, here's D and here's B. What is the distance? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with D as 0, and I'm going to count how many keyboard notes higher B is from D. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. A major sixth is 9 keyboard notes, or 9 half steps, or 4.5 whole steps, however you want to say it. That's the distance of a major sixth. Now here's a big concept. D is the first note in the scale and B is the sixth note in the scale. But let's say I didn't start on D. I'm still in the key of D, but I started on E. If I go up 9 half steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I get to C sharp, which is the 7th note in the D scale. So what I did is I went from the 2nd note to the 7th note, but the distance was still 9 half steps. You would still say you went higher a major sixth, and you could go lower a major sixth. So a major sixth is a distance, kind of like a foot or a meter, right? So it's a distance that means 9 half steps up or down. So 1 draw to 4 draw is a major sixth. So at this point, many harmonica players will say that in order to sound like Little Walter, play in sixth, right? By what they mean is open your mouth wide enough for 4 holes and block 2. If you were a harmonica player hanging out with me and I wasn't your teacher, and you said, I'm going to play in sixth, and you started doing this Little Walter stuff, I would leave you alone. I would let you say you were playing in sixth. But the reality is, you're not always playing in sixth. There's other stuff going on. So in the next video, we're going to start talking about what else is going on. All right, thanks very much.